learn how to create this easy fox eye. I'm first starting with filling in my eyebrows using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dipbrow Pomade in the shade Dark Brown. I'm creating thin hair-like strokes. Now I'm just using the Pro Pencil to outline my brows. I naturally have really thick brows, so I don't have to do much to them. Now moving on to eyes, I'm going to be using my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer as my eyeshadow base. Personally, I prefer this over an eyeshadow primer. Today we'll be using the James Charles palette, and I'm going to be applying the shade Canvas all over my lid as a base. For this look, I'll be using Scotch tape to get a nice crisp line. Next, I'll be taking the shade T and applying it with a fluffy crease brush onto my outer V and a little bit over the tape as well. I find that blending over the tape makes sure that your blending is nice and seamless. Now with the shade Benny, I'm going to be taking a Morphe M506 and applying it to my lash line and a little bit up the tape as well. Keep the color close to your lash line and don't bring it in past your pupil. Now I'm taking my fluffy crease brush and I'm making sure to blend out any harsh lines. Now I'm taking the shade Spooky on my Morphe M506 and applying it very close to my lash line and not bringing it up too far on the tape. I love using eyeshadow as eyeliner because it provides a much softer look. Now remove the tape and we'll come back to the eyes later. Next I'm going to be applying Kiss Lashes in the style Teddy and using the Duo Lash Glue to apply. Apply a thin layer of glue across the lash band and wait about 45 seconds for it to dry. In the meantime, I apply my mascara. This is the Man Eater by Tarte. Now I'll be applying my lashes looking down, starting in the center and then securing the outer and inner corners of the lash. Make sure the glue is tacky or else it won't stay in place. I also like to look down and push up on my lashes to help them get more volume. Today I'll be using my Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer. I love this since it helps minimize the appearance of my pores. And for foundation, I'll be using the IT Cosmetics CC Cream in the shade Light. I'm applying this with my Morphe M449 and using both stippling and circular motions to pat this in. I personally love this foundation since it's full coverage and it also helps to correct any redness I have. Moving on to concealer, I'll be using the Tarte Shape Tape in the shade Light Sand. This is a full coverage cream concealer and it's definitely one of my favorites since a little goes a long way with this product. Now with my Morphe M449, I'm just going to be blending out my concealer with my foundation, making sure that there's no harsh lines. I find that it's best if you use stippling motions to avoid creasing. You could also go over with a damp beauty blender to make sure everything is blended seamlessly. Now I'm taking my Onesize Ultimate Setting Powder in the shade Translucent and just setting my concealer and foundation. Basically anywhere I get oily. Now for bronzer, I'm using the Marc Jacobs Omega Bronzer, and I'm actually going to be taking an angled blush brush to apply. Now instead of going into the hollows of my cheekbones, I'm actually going to be applying on top of my cheekbones, blending upwards. I also apply the bronzer to my forehead about halfway down and I will blend it out later. I also like to contour my jawline using big circular motions. I also like to bring it up to my ear and then down my neck as well to make sure everything blends out. Now just bronzing up the other side. For a more natural look, I like going over with a big powder brush to make sure everything blends together. This tip is also helpful if you've applied your bronzer a little too dark. For blush, I'll be using Milani's Baked Blush in the shade Luminoso, and I'll be applying with the Morphe M530. With big circular motions, I'll be taking my blush from the tops of my cheekbones up to my temples. Now I'm just going back over with my powder brush, making sure everything blends together and there's no harsh lines. For nose contour, I'll be using my Morphe E47. I like to start off with 2 lines down the side of my nose and bringing those lines into my brows. This helps me map out the shape that I want my nose to be. I also like applying the bronzer in the shape of a V at the tip of my nose. And then I'll also drag the bronzer down the side of my nose just a little bit. Now with my foundation brush, I like to just go over the sides of my nose to buff out the nose contour. When it comes to this step, try to be as light-handed as possible just so you're not erasing your work. And for highlight today, we'll be using Becca's Champagne Pop on a Morphe 510 brush. I like to apply my highlight at the tops of my cheekbones using circular motions. Now with this Morphe tapered blending brush, I like to the tip and also the bridge of my nose. If you add too much like I just did, you can buff it away with your finger. I also like applying highlight to my cupid's bow. Now going back to eyes, I'll be applying that highlight color on the inner corner of my eye. Now taking the shade Benny, I'm going to be applying this to my lower lash line using a smudging brush from e.l.f. Next, I'll be taking Colourpop's Curvii lip liner and using this to line my lips. I like to apply my lip liner to the edges of my lips as well, just not in the center. And for lips today, I'll be using Colourpop's Velvet Luxe in the shade Ingenue. This color combo is my absolute favorite. I just started using it about a month ago and I'm obsessed. And that is the completed look. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.